Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. So for this one, if you bought our stem box, you're going to want to have bag number 2, which is the sand. So it says bag number 2 on it. It's the sand. You're going to want bag number 3, which is the cornstarch. Looks like this. And you're going to want bag number 4, which is the oil. And Natalie added into the chat the measurements as well. So if you don't have our stem box, you can write those down and you can make this afterward so that you can make it on your own. All right, so bag 2, bag 3, and bag 4. And you're also going to want a pretty good size workspace here. This one's going to get a little messy because all the best science is messy. We're going to get messy today. And we're going to use a big bowl here or a big container that you have so that you can make your kinetic sand in that. Okay? All right, so here we go. The first thing we're going to do is take bag number 2, which is our sand, and we're going to pour that into our big container. So we're going to take that sand and pour it right in there in our big container. So once you pour it in, you can kind of spread it out a little bit, see what it looks like, see how it feels. And the sand doesn't stick to itself very well. It kind of just is soft and sitting there in the bowl. Pretty easy to get it off our hands, right? So there's our sand. Yeah. Next up, after we have our sand in there, we're going to get our bag number 3, which is our cornstarch. Let me make this a little bit easier to see here. So we're going to get our cornstarch, and we're going to add that to our sand. Now, for our junior scientists, you might want to get some help with this one. It's really powdery, so if you pour it in too fast, you're going to make a big cloud of cornstarch. It'd be pretty messy. So you want to take that cornstarch, you're going to add it right on top of the sand. So we're going to put that cornstarch, see if I can get mine open. Put that cornstarch right on top of that sand. All right. All right, so you can see my sand and my cornstarch right on top of that. So now's the first messy part of this. We're gonna get our hands in here. We're gonna mix the sand and the cornstarch together. And we wanna make sure that we don't have any cornstarch by itself and we don't have any sand by itself. We wanna mix it all in. So if you have some on the sides of the bowl, you wanna make sure to get that in there. Really just kind of mix it together with your hands. I'm just kind of squeezing it together like this to getting it all mixed in. Just mixing up the sand and the cornstarch. And you want to scrape it off the sides. If you have it stick into your hands, you can scrape that off. Really squeeze it together. Mix it all in. Feels really soft and powdery. Stick into my hands a little bit. All mixed together. So my hands are nice and messy. So now your mixture looks kind of like this. So that sand and cornstarch mixed together all evenly in there. Okay, so now our next step is we're going to take our oil, and this one again, you might want some help pouring this one in. Make sure that you don't spill it. We're going to take that oil, it's a half a cup of oil, and we're going to add this oil to our mixture, and we want to mix it all up together. Here we go. Open that up. And pour it in there. And you'll notice that when you first pour it in, it's not going to mix on its own. It's going to sit right on top. The liquid sits right on top of the sand. So we got to get in there and get it really messy. Now for this mixture, when we mix this up, we want to make sure that there are no spots that look wet and there are no spots that look perfectly dry. We want it all to be mixed evenly all the way around. So when I mix it in, it's going to stick to your hands a little bit. Feels wet like sand at the beach. You can see it's all sticking to my hands here. I want to make sure to scrape that off and really get it mixed in together. Start to feel it kind of clump together. So as I'm mixing this, Natalie, do you want to talk about the science behind what's happening here?
Yes, I would love to. So the science behind the kinetic sand is that it's modeled after wet sand. So the ingredients that you need, all you need is sand, cornstarch, and oil. And then when you're mixing the cornstarch and oil together, you're going to get a liquid that's more viscous and thicker than water. Viscous, for those of you that don't know, it means like thicker consistency. So like the oil isn't as easy to pour as water. That's why it like comes together. Rather, when you pour water on sand, it gives you a muddy consistency. And so this contributes to the stickiness of kinetic sand, which is why when you form it together, like Ms. Staragish is demonstrating for us, it forms together almost like a solid object. So you can form it into a ball. And if you have any like sand toys, such as like sea stars and seahorses, you can form it together and it will form it for you.
Yeah. So mix it all together, get all those clumps mixed in together. And that's your kinetic sand.
So thank you guys so much for purchasing our eSTEM box, our very first edition. And we would also love to see all of your guys' creations. So please post your pictures of any things that you made in your maker spaces. Maybe you did the dancing corn or made a bouncy ball or even the kinetic sand here. Please post them and tag us at eSTEM Ambassadors. We'd love to see all your pictures. Thank you. And if you're here for extra credit, the code word for this session is eSTEM. Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks for coming.